you want that to be here.
Okay, awesome.
Right. So, hi everybody. My name is Devin.
I'm Nolani.
We are students at the University of Chicago in Chicago, Illinois, and this summer we are interns here at Education USA in Mexico City. And today we are going to be presenting a webinar for you guys about standardized testing. Can you put on my view? Great. Awesome. So first, a little bit about Education USA. Education USA is a global network of advising centers that is run by the U.S. Department of State. We offer unbiased, accurate, comprehensive information for free to help students around the world learn what they need to know in order to be accepted in American universities and other higher education institutions. Across Mexico, there are 26 advising centers, and if you want to figure out which advising center is closest to you, you can go to educationusa.state.gov. So, okay, there we go. Sorry, brief technical difficulties. So yes, we have 26 advising centers across Mexico. So if you aren't sure which advising center is closest to you, go to educationusa.state.gov. All right, now for the meat of the webinar. What is a standardized test? Standardized tests are often required for undergraduate and graduate college students by a university or college as part of the standard application process. They're meant to measure students' knowledge and skill set. The SAT and ACT are the most common undergraduate standardized tests recognized by colleges and universities in the United States. These are often part of a university's application process. Some colleges may also require SAT subject tests. The importance of a standardized test depends on the school. So while some schools will require that you submit the ACT or SAT and even several SAT subject tests, other universities may not require any. So for example, Nolani and I are students at the University of Chicago, which no longer has a standardized test requirement. So be sure that you check with the schools that you are interested in applying to before you take these tests to make sure that they are really necessary. Most of these standardized tests are offered several times a year, so you have the opportunity to study and retake them if you are not satisfied with your first score. Always make sure that you check a specific college's test requirements, as I said before, so that you don't take extra standardized tests that you don't need to.
So we'll first start talking about the SAT. The SAT measures your ability to think through problems, with emphasis on skills important for college success and career readiness. This means that this test will assess the way you think rather than the specific things that you learn in class at school. It's a 3-hour test. It contains 2 sections, including evidence-based reading and writing, and math as a second one. There's an optional writing portion as a 3rd section, but make sure that you check with universities that you want to apply to see if they'll recommend you take this portion anyway, because many universities do. The SAT is on a 1,600-point scale. There is no penalty for wrong answers, so make sure that you try your best to bubble in every single question before you submit your test. So what does the test look like? The test is broken down into a few different parts. The evidence-based reading and writing will take 100 minutes total to complete. The math section will take 80 minutes total, and if you choose to take the writing portion, it'll be 50 minutes total. If you choose to take the writing portion, it basically assesses how well you can analyze an author's argument. You'll respond to a passage between 650 to 750 words in length. The score scale of the SAT essay is different from the other sections. So the essay is graded on a 1 to 8 scale based on your reading, analysis, and writing ability. Make sure that if you take the essay that you approach the essay from an analytical stance, where you analyze the passage that you're given rather than summarizing it. So a few tips that we have when writing the SAT essay is focusing on the author's use of rhetorical techniques, evidence, and reasoning to enhance their argument, so that when you're talking about the author's argument, you can pull in these pieces of evidence and strengthen your own paper. Make sure you write about how the author uses these techniques and applies them to strengthen their argument. And also, the essay prompt is the same for every test. The only thing that you have to prepare for are the different kind of passages that you will be seeing on the test. And make sure that you always include a thesis statement in your essay. The next SAT dates, if you're in the area of Mexico City, is October 5th and December 7th. You can register for these dates on collegeboard.org or also visit this website to find a testing center near you. So in addition to the SAT test, there are also SAT subject tests. These cover 5 different areas: math, history, science, literature, and languages. Each test is an hour long, and you can take up to 3 in one day. Many colleges recommend that you take these because they may place you out of introductory courses in college. And make sure you check with your colleges again, the ones that you want to apply to, because some require 1, 2, or even 3 to even apply. Even if colleges don't require you to submit your scores, some will still consider your scores to paint a fuller picture of your academic achievement, just to get a better idea of what kind of student you are. For the subject test specifically, 1 point is awarded per correct answer, but a fraction of a point is deducted for every wrong answer you choose. Now, the fraction actually depends on how many answer choices are given per question, and no points are deducted for no answer. So make sure that when you're going through these tests, you're careful about when you want to leave an answer blank and when you want to fill in one of the answer choices. Also, you can choose whichever subject test you want to take. So this is a really good opportunity to play on your strengths and choose subjects that you know you're good at.
The next standardized test that we will be discussing today is the ACT. The ACT tests you on concepts that you've likely learned in class. It is a test that is 2 hours and 55 minutes long, and it contains 4 sections: English, math, reading, and science. There's also an optional writing portion, but keep in mind that many colleges will prefer or require that you take this, so we highly encourage you to consider taking it as part of it, the ACT. You will receive a score that is on a 36-point scale, with a 36 being essentially a perfect score on the exam. There's no penalty for wrong answers, so answer every question. So the ACT, just a breakdown of the structure. The English section takes 45 minutes. The math section takes 60 minutes. The reading section takes 35 minutes. The science section takes 35 minutes as well. And the optional writing portion is another 40 minutes, which means that if you take the entire exam with writing, it would be 3 hours and 35 minutes. The ACT essay. So in the ACT essay portion, you'll be presented with an issue and 3 different perspectives on that issue. You will then write an essay. This will be graded by 2 people. Both will score your essay on a scale of 1 to 6 across 4 domains: ideas and analysis, development and support, organization, and language use. The scores from these 4 domains will be added together on a total scale from 2 to 12. And your score reflects the average scores from across these domains. You will be expected to read and state your own perspective on the issue, discussing your position in relation to at least one of the 3 given perspectives. Your ideas should be supported with reasoning and examples. Be sure to organize your ideas clearly and include a thesis statement, as these will be what give your essay structure. The next ACT dates here in Mexico City are September 14th, 2019, and October 26th, 2019. Be sure to go to www.act.org to find a testing center near you. Now, just some quick test taking tips. If you're stuck on a multiple choice question, try to eliminate the answers that you know for a fact are wrong. Every question that you can eliminate as being incorrect brings you closer to finding the one that is correct. Be sure that you pay attention to contrast words such as however, rather, or still, as these can change the meaning of the second part of a sentence. Also, look for words that have negative or positive connotations that will provide context. So sometimes they will have questions where a word will be underlined and they will ask if you should leave it as it is or include another word. And here, other words in the sentence with negative or positive connotations will be really helpful. Skim passages before answering questions and always read the intro. This is especially helpful on the reading and science sections. Be sure that you memorize grammar rules and math formulas ahead of time so that you don't need to be trying to remember them during the exam. And plug in numbers answers if you can. Some more test taking tips. Be careful about no change answers. Don't select no change unless you are 100% certain that the sentence is correct as it is and does not require any changes. Skip questions that you're stuck on and save them for last, because since every multiple choice question is worth the same amount, you will get a higher score if you answer more questions than if you just don't finish some at the end and get hung up over one that you're really stuck on. Be sure that you use graphs to help narrow down answers. Then also on the ACT reading portion, try to do the conflicting viewpoints portion last, as this may take the longest. And also check your answers if you have extra time.
So now about registering for these tests. For the SAT and the SAT subject tests, you can register through your College Board account on the College Board website. For the ACT, you have to make an account through the official ACT website, and then you just register through there. So now talking about costs. The SAT for the upcoming year will be almost $50. With the essay, which will be an additional cost, will come out to be $64.50. For the SAT subject test, the basic registration fee is $26. And after that, each individual subject test that you take will be $22 each. However, the language tests with listening are $26 each. For the ACT, the cost for the upcoming year is $50.50, but with the essay, it'll come out to be $67. Just keep in mind that as international students, you might be charged an additional regional fee. Now, how to interpret scores. As you mentioned before, the SAT score scale is 1600, so that's 800 points per section. The SAT subject test score scale comes out to be 800 per test. The ACT is on a scale from 1 to 36. And just remember that not all colleges value scores the same way. So if you're interested in specific schools, make sure that you familiarize yourself with their score policy. Here are some ways that colleges will interpret your scores. They might superscore, which means that if you take a test more than once, they will take your highest section score per test. Other colleges will request all of your scores, so you will have to send in every single test that you took. Or they might let you choose scores, and you can decide which scores you want to send in. Sending in your scores to colleges. So for the SAT and the ACT specifically, if you send in your score reports before their deadlines, which are listed below, you can send them in for free. So for the SAT, if you decide to send in score reports within 9 days after the test, and just keep in mind that you will not have your scores yet by this time, but you can send up to 4 free reports. For the ACT, if you choose to send in scores before or by the Thursday after the test, you can also send up to 4. And for the ACT, you will also not know your score by then. After these deadlines, you can still send in your score reports to schools. The SAT policy is that they will charge you $12 per school that you send your score report to. And for the ACT, they will charge you $13 per test per school that you send to. In addition to that, if you need to send in your scores quicker, there will be additional fees that will apply. For the SAT, if you decide to register by phone, there will be an additional fee. Or if you all of a sudden need to change your test center or your test date, you can change that for an additional fee. If you register late, so after the initial deadline, there will be a fee of $30. And if you're put on a wait list and you're admitted to take the test on your test day of choice, there will also be an additional fee. For the ACT, there will also be a late registration fee if you register after the deadline. Also a waitlist fee, which you can see by the standby testing. If you decide to test, or if you decide to change your test date or your test center, or send in your score reports to any more schools after the deadline. Just keep in mind that these are fees that you can find on the websites, and so to avoid any of these, make sure that you can make your test date, that you're sure that you can make the test center, and make sure that you just plan ahead before deciding to register for these tests.
How to prepare for these tests. So the biggest thing that you can do is practice on your own. While these tests are going to test that you have some like math skills and background in English and possibly science, a large part of doing well on these tests is just being able to answer the questions within the time constraints given to you. And the more practice tests that you take, the more experience that you'll have answering these questions under the time constraints, and the quicker you'll get at being able to answer them without sacrificing accuracy. So practice, practice, practice. You can find practice tests in practice books, or if you go to Google and you Google like printable ACT or printable SAT, you should be able to find some PDFs of full released exams or practice tests that you can also take for practice, and you can then score yourself. Also consult your school advisor about tips to prepare, and always read what you may or may not bring to test before you go on College Board or always read what you may or may not bring to test before you show up the day of the test. So for example, you should bring a graphing calculator if you're taking the SAT or ACT, because these are allowed on the math portion, and there is even a portion of the SAT math section that actually requires a calculator. So if you don't bring a calculator test day, you'll be at a disadvantage. Also consult the College Board and ACT websites if you have any questions.
So now we'll be talking about the TOEFL. The TOEFL is an English assessment exam that prepares you for the academic English requirements of a university. It is the most favored English test in the US, so you will often see that US universities will require you to submit a TOEFL score. There are more than 50 test dates per year, so you have more flexibility in deciding when you're ready for the test and when you want to take it. And they're primarily taken online at a test center. The TOEFL is on a score scale of 0 to 120. The cost depends on where you are. In the city of Mexico City, each test costs $180, and your score will be valid for 2 years. Check out www.ets.org/TOEFL for test dates, test centers, and more information. The TOEFL is split up into reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So the first section, reading, will take 60 to 80 minutes. You'll be reading 3 or 4 passages from academic texts and answering questions. Listening will take 60 to 90 minutes. You'll be listening to lectures, classroom discussions, conversations, and then answer questions. After a break, you'll start with speaking, which will last 20 minutes. You will have to express an opinion on a familiar topic. Speak based on reading and listening tasks as well. The writing portion at the end will be 50 minutes long, and you will write an essay based on reading and listening tasks and support an opinion in your writing.
The IELTS. The IELTS is another standardized test that assesses your English language ability. You can choose between 2 versions of the exam, the academic version and the general training version. Of these 2, the general training version is easier and the academic version is harder. The score scale ranges from 1 to 9. And the cost of the exam is $215 US if taken here in Mexico City. Test dates are regular, so check www.IELTS.org for test dates, test centers, and more information. The IELTS test is 2 hours and 45 minutes long, and this is divided into a listening section that is 30 minutes long, a speaking session that is 15 minutes long, a reading portion that is 60 minutes long, and a writing portion, which is 60 minutes long. While listening and speaking are the same on both the academic and general training versions, reading and writing will vary between the academic and general training versions in content. To take a closer look at these differences, we can see that in the reading section, whereas the reading section of the academic version consists of 3 long passages, which may be taken from books, journals, magazines, and newspapers. The reading section of the general version consists of 3 sections, but the first section is 2 or 3 short factual texts. Section 2 is 2 short factual texts focusing on work-related issues, and only section 3 will be a longer, more complex text like the texts found in the academic version. Looking at the differences between the writing sections between the academic version and the general training version, we can see that the writing section on the academic version has 2 parts. Part 1 requires that you describe, summarize, or explain the information in a graph, table, chart, or graph. And part 2 requires you to write an essay in response to a point of view, argument, or problem. The general training version's writing section also has 2 parts, but the part 1 for this requires that you write a letter requesting information or explaining a situation, unlike part 1 of the academic version. Part 2, however, is the same and will require that you write an essay in response to a point of view, argument, or problem. Sending in your TOEFL and IELTS scores to colleges. For the TOEFL, before taking the TOEFL, you can choose to send your scores to up to 4 colleges for free. Additional score reports will cost $19 each. This is American dollars. And for the IELTS, you can request to send up to 5 score reports free of charge within the first month after the test. These can be electronic or paper reports, so make sure that you confirm that the form you choose will be accepted by the universities that you are sending them to. Additional score reports will cost a fee.
So recap of what we talked about today. Always consult your colleges of choice for their standardized testing requirements, so that you, going into this testing season, you know exactly which tests you need to take and which ones are best for you. Make sure that you practice over and over again before test day. Register for tests ahead of time to avoid fees, and make sure you know which materials you're allowed to bring. Don't forget to send in your scores, and most colleges consider your scores holistically, so just do your best. Other resources. So all specific test information that we talked about and furthermore can be found on the test websites. For the SAT and the SAT subject test, you can find information on collegeboard.org. The ACT, you can find it on the official ACT website. The TOEFL, you can find it through the link following. And with the IELTS, you can find it on IELTS.org. There are also many online resources, so many times you can find published tests from past years or past test sessions. There are many resources available where you can find tests that you can download and practice on your own, and download answer keys as well so you can review your answers. And also make sure to check in with your local Education USA centers. They will have testing materials for all the tests that you need to apply to college, and they're a great resource if you need to clarify any of your questions. So before we jump into any questions that you might have, we want to advertise our next webinar, which will be at 4 p.m. next Tuesday. So at the same time, we'll be talking about academic culture in the USA. So everything that you're expecting from your classes and your class schedules and what to expect from professors, we will all be covering that in the next session. We also want to give a quick shout out to the viewing party at the Education USA Guadalajara en la Coordinación y Internacionalización en la Universidad de Guadalajara. So thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you found our information valuable.
Also, if you are here in Mexico City, please consider coming to one of our summer game nights. They are here at the Benjamin Franklin Library. We will be having two. Both of them will be from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. The first will be on Wednesday, July 17th, and the second will be on Friday, July 26th. This is a great way to practice your English and also learn some fun American games.
If you're interested in studying your undergrad degree in the United States, and you're in the Mexico City area, we will be having info sessions where you can learn all about the application process and how to find scholarships to suit you for when you decide to study in the U.S. Those will be July 23rd at 5 p.m. and July 25th at 11 a.m.
If you're interested in learning about how to compose music from different genres, consider joining us for our music production workshop. It is at 4 p.m. on Thursday, July 18th here at the Benjamin Franklin Library. And this is intended for students between the ages of 13 and 17.
We also have a summer conversation club for the month of July, every Monday from 4 to 5 p.m. and every Wednesday from 11 to 12 p.m. or 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please register through the link that's included on the flyer. We will be talking about American culture every single week, and it's a great opportunity for you to practice your conversational English.
And finally, if you want to practice the SAT, please come to our SAT practice sessions. They're Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Throughout, starting on July 11th. So they're going for the next several weeks. They are here at the Benjamin Franklin Library in Mexico City. All right, now we will be taking any questions that you guys have. So if you have any questions, please type them in the sidebar. All right, it looks like Paco Guerra asks, where can I check the dates of the SAT in Monterrey? Or can it only be taken in Mexico City?
So you can find the test centers that are closest to you on the College Board website. So you can log in through your College Board account, collegeboard.org, and there will be test centers listed, and you can find the closest one to you that way. This will be late.
Okay. We will be staying online just for a few more minutes. So if you do have any other questions, feel free to type them, and we will answer them as soon as we can. But thank you so much to everybody for joining us. Yeah. Sure. Right. Okay, all right. Since it doesn't look like there are any other questions, we are going to sign off. So thank you so much for joining us, and please join us again next week at the same time for another webinar. Bye.
Bye.